All right, so a storm system moving through the Great Lakes region this afternoon will continue to bring a sloppy mix of rain and freezing rain across portions of central Wisconsin and Michigan. Snow will then begin to overspread portions of the interior northeast region this evening through the night tonight, and I'm going to show you that here on the models. So here is the most recent NAM 3KM guidance, and as you can see, the snow does begin moving into the interior northeast across upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and into Maine through this evening into the overnight period. And it's not going to be a whole lot. So, in terms of snow amounts across the Northeast, we're really not expecting a whole lot in terms of accumulation. A general 1 to 2 inches is expected across the lower elevations, with 2 to 5 inches across the higher elevations of upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and the interior portions of Maine, with isolated 6 to 8 inch reports. I can't speak today. It would not surprise me to see some of those, especially across portions of interior Maine up in here as the storm system strengthens off the coast and pushes to the northeast. So I would not be surprised to see isolated 6 to 8 inch amounts here in portions of interior Maine. And I'll show you here on the NAM 3KM. Let me pull this up here. The snowfall amounts. All right, so here's what I'm talking about. This is the snowfall amounts projected across the Northeast from the NAM 3KM, with a general 1 to 2 inches across the lower elevations, with potentially up to 5 inches in the higher elevations, especially across upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire. And then isolated 6 to 8 inch reports would, again, I would not be surprised if I saw 6 to 8 inch reports across portions of interior Maine as the storm system does strengthen as it pushes along the coast and heads to the northeast. So again, a general 1 to 2 inches for most, with higher elevations seeing a bit more, and same with interior portions of Maine. And winter weather advisories are in effect across portions of the northeast ahead of this event. And snow is not going to be the only problem that we are going to be experiencing, with the greatest icing potential existing across portions of northeast PA and in here, southeast New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, southern Vermont, and New Hampshire, and coastal regions of Maine, where up to 1/4 of an inch of ice is possible in some areas. And that's what's keeping the snow totals down here across portions of the coastal regions of Maine, southern Vermont, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts, and across portions of southeastern and northeastern PA, southeastern New York. And I will show you the icing potential here. Let me just pull that up on the NAM 3KM. So again, here you can see where the greatest icing potential does exist, and it's in those areas that I previously mentioned. With up to 1/4 of an inch of ice, it's going to cause problems. You don't want to travel. If you don't have to go out, just stay home. And this is going to be through the overnight period into the day tomorrow. So if you don't have to go out, just stay home. But that is where the greatest icing concern is going to be here across portions of New England. All right, so now let's turn our attention to the West Coast, the Pacific Northwest to be exact, where a parade of storms is poised to bring 3 to 4 feet of snow to portions of the Cascades across the state of Washington and Oregon, where winter storm warnings across the Cascades do remain in effect through January 8th. As our active pattern continues, I want to take a look at our next snow potential across the central United States into the upper Midwest and Great Lakes region through this coming weekend. So let's take a look at that quick before we go. And here is our snow potential, which is valid from Thursday through Sunday. And a piece of energy that is going to be diving into the southwestern US through the day on Friday will be responsible for our next potential snowmaker. The exact track and timing does remain uncertain at this point in time, but latest guidance does suggest that there is the potential for some snow across portions of northern Texas, Colorado, Kansas, Nebraska, all the way up to Wisconsin and Michigan. And here in a second, I will show you what the Euro and the GFS are showing. I'll show you the comparisons between the two, because there are still differences between the main global models, but guidance is pointing towards the fact that we might have another snow system across this portion, the central portion of the country, and the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes region, with this area in darker blue being the area that I deem a higher likelihood of snow, of an accumulating snowfall occurring between the period of Thursday through Sunday. So it's something that we need to be paying attention to. I would not be surprised to see winter weather advisories later in the week and possibly winter storm watches and warnings be posted for this region. But we will keep you guys updated on this. But we're going to take a look at the model guidance. I'm going to look at the upper air energy, and I want to look at the surface and what it's showing on the models here. All right, so here is the European model, and I'm going to show you here this piece of energy that is diving down here in from the Pacific Northwest into the southwestern U.S. is going to round the base of the trough, and you get this northern piece and the southern piece. You get this piece of energy to round the base, and it's going to drive up through the central U.S. into the Great Lakes region through the weekend, and that's going to be responsible for bringing that storm system that could deliver another shot of snow and cold air across the eastern portion of the country. And I want to show you what it looks like at the surface now. This is the European model. Let's let this load in here. I'm going to back this up to where we started at. I want to show you here from the beginning. So as the storm system develops in across Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas, here is the storm system that we are talking about here. This one right here. So you can see some snow across Colorado, New Mexico, into northern Texas, Oklahoma, and Nebraska and Kansas as it moves up and along through the upper Midwest into the Great Lakes region. You get a period of moderate to heavy snow, and the storm system continues to strengthen and moves to the northeast. Now, I want to show you what the GFS is showing, because the GFS does look a bit different. And it's a bit weaker with this system. So let me pull this. I'm going to pull the upper air energy back here. Give me 1 second. So here is the GFS, the upper air map. I love starting with the upper air map because it shows you the big picture, and it's what we like to look at to get the most accurate idea as to what is going to occur. And you see this, it still has that piece of energy moving into the southwestern U.S. through the day on Thursday into Friday. And then it rounds the base of the trough, but the trough is wider, it's weaker, it's not as strong, the energy is not as consolidated as the European has. This is a much weaker system than what the European is showing, and it moves through the same general area, but not nearly as much precipitation is associated with this system here, and I'll show you that in just a second. Let me move to the surface map here. I'll show you what it shows at the surface. You still get that idea that the storm system, you still get that snow potential across New Mexico, Colorado, Texas, northern Texas, the Oklahoma panhandle into Kansas, but it's a much weaker system than what the European model is showing. But you still get some snow across portions of Iowa, Wisconsin, and Michigan, and the storm system continues to strengthen and pushes to the north and east into southern Canada. But it's a weaker system that GFS has as compared to what the European shows. And I'll show you one more time here what the European is showing. So the European has a stronger system as it pushes through the Great Lakes region, whereas the GFS, again, I'll show you, is weaker. And let me show you one more time the comparison between the upper air maps for both. So this is going to be the 500 millibar map for the GFS. And then let me show you the European. So the European is a bit stronger, more consolidated with that piece of energy, whereas the GFS here, again, I'll show you one last time here, is a bit weaker and the trough is wider. So that's the differences right now between the models, but there is still the snow potential across the central U.S. and the upper Midwest that needs to be monitored. So stay with me throughout the week as we continue to watch this next system.